Every morning, one enemy wakes up with you. They know your fears, your excuses, your deepest regrets. And no, it's not Floki, Thorkell, or your boss. It's you, the version of you that hides from discomfort. That version is your greatest rival, not the world. It's you versus you, and the mirror never lies. Today, we'll unlock how to defeat your inner saboteur, one decision at a time. You ever hear a line so bold, so wild, so against the vibe that you have to pause the episode and rewind? A true warrior doesn't need a sword. Come on, Thors. You're literally standing on a Viking warship surrounded by people who brought swords to brunch. And yet, this man, the most feared warrior in the North Sea, drops his weapon and just stands there. Unbothered, calm, like he's already won. Thors is surrounded by mercenaries, outnumbered, outarmed. And still, he's not sweating it because he knows something they don't. Real strength isn't about how hard you hit. It's about knowing when not to swing at all. That wasn't a flex. That was wisdom earned the hard way after swinging too often, too soon, for the wrong reasons. He knew what Thorfinn hadn't figured out yet, that the strongest warriors don't chase fights. They choose purpose over pride, peace over power. This wasn't about being passive. It was about being in control. The real fight in Vinland Saga was never Thors versus the pirates. It was Thorfinn versus himself. And honestly, that's most of us. Seneca once said, "The greatest empire is to rule over oneself." And Thors, he'd already claimed that empire. He didn't need to win every fight. He didn't need a sword because he already conquered the most dangerous battlefield there is, his own mind. That's what real strength looks like. Not rage, not revenge, restraint, clarity, control. You ever get one of those seen messages with no reply? Now you're walking around, rehearsing imaginary arguments, scrolling their feed for clues, and texting your best friend a play-by-play like it's a criminal investigation. But the truth? They're not your enemy. You just gave your ego the mic, and it's doing stand-up. You're not mad at them. You're mad that your story didn't play out the way you scripted it. So the next time you feel like exploding, replying, or overthinking, pause, take a breath, ask, is this a fight that builds me or just feeds my pride? Want to be dangerous? Learn to walk away without feeling weak. Want to be unstoppable? Master yourself so no one else can, just like Thors. Because the strongest warrior isn't the one who carries the biggest sword. It's the one who's already won the hardest empire to conquer, himself. You know what's scarier than a Viking with an axe? A mirror on a day you didn't try. No filter, no edits, just cold, hard, yikes! Did I really scroll TikTok for 3 hours today? Vibes. Thorfinn's past is behind him, but he wakes up from a nightmare drenched in sweat and guilt. He's free, no chains, but the guy staring back at him in the mirror, still trapped. You see, the war outside ended. But the war inside, that one's still throwing punches. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and part-time life coach, used to check himself nightly. What did I do well today? What did I mess up? What can I do better tomorrow? This wasn't about shame. It was about being honest with the one person who matters most. So here's your version. At the end of the day, stand in front of the mirror and ask, am I proud of how I showed up today? That's it. Not, did I crush every goal? Not, was I perfect? Just, did I show up as the person I want to become? Because the mirror doesn't lie, but if you're brave enough to face it, it can also show you who you're becoming. Everybody wants a breakthrough moment, the big aha scene. Cue the dramatic music. A lightning bolt of motivation. Suddenly, you're shredded, successful, and emotionally healed. Woo! Except, that's not how it works. The truth? You don't transform in a single battle. You win the war through 1,000 small, boring ones. Look at Thorfinn and Einar. They're not slicing through armies or screaming about destiny. They're chopping trees, one by one. No glory, no epic music, just calluses and commitment. But that work? That's what rebuilds Thorfinn, not just his muscles, but his identity. He stops being a lost warrior and starts becoming a man with purpose. Meanwhile, we freak out like, ugh, I ate one cookie, guess the whole diet's ruined. I missed the gym once, I'm a failure. Nah, you're not broken, you're just impatient. Angela Duckworth, author of Grit, studied elite performers across sports, business, and art. Her takeaway? Talent matters. But grit, showing up even when it sucks, is what actually wins. Skipping one workout? That won't break you. But the habit of quitting? That's like giving up on planting a tree because the first leaf didn't sprout. Consistency is the compounding interest of character. Every rep, every journal entry, every yes to your goals. It stacks. So what now? Don't try to overhaul your whole life today. Start simple. Clean your desk. Send that one email you've been dodging. Take a walk without your phone. That's it. No fireworks. No life coach screaming in your face. But here's where it gets real. Do it again tomorrow, then again the next day. Because those small choices, they're like bricks. Stack enough of them and you've built a fortress. Not for defense, but for discipline. Warriors aren't made by one battle. They're forged in repetition, swing by swing, choice by choice. Fear doesn't barge in like a villain in an action movie. Nope, it's sneakier than that. Fear shows up in sweatpants, holding a bag of chips, whispering, just start tomorrow. Tomorrow, the beautiful little lie we keep falling for like it's a limited time offer. Thorfinn? This guy stared down war, slavery, and death. But his biggest enemy wasn't out there swinging swords. It was the thought that maybe, just maybe, he could never change. That all he'd ever be was a killer, a tool, a shell of who he once was. That thought terrified him. Because real fear isn't loud. It's the quiet belief that nothing you do will ever matter. So why even try? Psychologists say most people don't freeze because of failure. They freeze because of uncertainty. We don't know what happens if we try, so we don't. You've done it. You got that email. The one with the subject line, urgent. You read the first two words and immediately open Netflix. Like, somehow season 3 of a baking show will make your inbox less terrifying. You weren't tired. You weren't busy. You were scared. Fear isn't loud. It doesn't scream, I'm here. It whispers, don't bother. It won't matter anyway. That's not the truth. That's avoidance dressed up as logic. Thorfinn didn't wait until he was brave. He made the decision to change before he knew how. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing. So when fear whispers, wait, you say, watch me. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's decision in spite of it. Comfort isn't evil, but let's be honest. Comfort is a velvet coffin. Looks nice, smells like lavender, and kills your potential slowly. You're not failing because you're weak. You're stuck because you got cozy. Thorfinn had options. After years of war and pain, he finally finds peace. He could have stayed on a farm, lived a quiet life, raised goats, learned sourdough. But no. He chooses something harder, sailing across the ocean to build Vinland. Not for money, not for revenge, not for his ego, but for meaning. Because he knew if he stayed too comfortable, he'd rot inside. Thorfinn wasn't addicted to war. He was just allergic to stagnation. He didn't want comfort. He wanted a challenge that mattered. And that's the part most of us skip. Seneca once said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor. Now, he wasn't talking about hunger for junk food or TikTok clout. He meant the restless craving for easy, empty things. Stuff that looks good, but gives nothing back. Let's say you got a paper due, and it's not even that hard. But instead of starting, you do the following. Make a snack. Watch one YouTube video that becomes 6, rearrange your desktop folders for no reason, decide now's the perfect time to clean your sock drawer. And at the end of the day, you're busy, but you didn't grow. You just padded the coffin. Comfort isn't evil, but it's sneaky. It wears fuzzy slippers and whispers, relax, you've done enough. What it's really saying is, stay small. So ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now? Just because it's uncomfortable. That conversation, that workout, that one project you keep planning but never actually start, do that. Because hunger isn't about desperation. It's about being driven by something deeper than convenience. If Thorfinn can leave peace behind to build a better world, you can leave your comfort zone to build a better you. So, what happens tomorrow? You'll wake up, and there they'll be, the same version of you who makes excuses, who says it's fine when you know it isn't. That version of you who settles for less. But now you know the truth. The real fight isn't against your boss, your past, or that one friend who ghosted you in 2018. It's the battle inside, the war you wage within yourself. Thors once reminded us in his own way that the true test of a warrior is not in the foes he overcomes on the battlefield, but in the battle he wins within. That wisdom tells us that once you conquer your inner doubts, your fears, and that lazy, comfort-loving version of yourself, there's no enemy left to fight. So, show up tomorrow, not to battle the world, but to challenge your own limits. Face your reflection, acknowledge your progress, and push past the inertia. Because the greatest victory isn't over the world, it's over the version of you that keeps holding you back.